A beautiful day to you, and thank you for joining me on another episode of the Women Series where we capture developments and stories that impact women. I am Ayomide Oguntoye. Last week we talked about tax for women in the informal sectors and what you should understand about taxation in a country, and of course take home for women and how you can climb up the ladder with Dr. Folashade Koka, the director of the informal sector and special duties at LIRS. And it was such a great conversation. If you missed it, you might want to check that out on our YouTube page. Today, we are having a very interesting conversation which stems around the cost of living. We understand that things are really not easy for anybody at the moment. That's how easy I can say it at this point. But that's just the truth. People are really going through different things. But as women, how are we navigating the tides? How are we going through this economic crisis? And to make this conversation very interesting, we're giving a twist to it. And we also want to hear from people in the diaspora, such that it is not only happening to us in the country, in Nigeria, but people are also facing the same globally. So it is not a thing of, oh, Nigerians are not breathing, Nigerians are not doing fine. But of course, people are also going through the same in other spaces. So let's hear from someone in Nigeria and someone in the diaspora. Today, I have with me Adeola Sulaiman, a personal finance expert that would be joining us in the studio today. She's here. And then from the UK, I have Rakel Eseku, a licensed nurse and a mental health specialist. Hello, Adeola. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's so good to be here. So honestly, I look forward to having this conversation. I look forward to having you on my couch to have a conversation. But I'm happy, first of all, that we're having this particular conversation, and I'm looking forward to your honesty.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to your honesty, and I'm looking forward to having like an interesting conversation on this particular topic. And everyone is going through it at the moment. We understand it. Everyone is actually going through it. Even I don't want to say a 1-year-old baby is going through it, but I mean, for anyone that understands the reality, knows exactly what is going on. By the way, let me greet our diaspora friend that is also joining us. Hello, Rakel. How are you doing?
Hello, good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. It's good to have you on the program today. Yeah, so let me quickly start with Adeola in the studio. September 5 marks 100 days of the Tinubu administration. And there was this particular phrase that was that trended, and I think it is still trending at the moment, where he said that, let the poor breathe. You're familiar with that? Yeah. In your opinion, after 100 days, do you really think that people are still breathing?
Well, I'm going to have to throw the question back at you. Are you breathing?
I'm breathing, but I'm not breathing fine. But I'm not breathing fine, let's be honest.
Well, like you rightly said, I mean, it's the reality for most Nigerians, you know, and it cuts across all the demographic. I mean, whether rich, whether poor. Right now, some would even argue that there is literally no middle class, you know, and everybody's just struggling. Of course, with new policies and all that, at the end of the day, the citizens, you know, have to bear the brunt of these policies. Now, as to whether these policies are in good faith or whether it's a short-term gain or a long-term gain that would literally impact, you know, the livelihoods of people, that's yet to be seen. But we can all see that in the immediate, I mean, it's not funny. Cost of living is maybe ×3, if I'm not exaggerating. I mean, you're talking rent, you're talking food, you're talking transportation, you're talking utilities, and these are basic staples for living everyday life. So if income is not increasing, your disposable income is not increasing, how then are you able to manage, you know, between your needs? Now, we're not even talking wants, we're talking needs, what you need to live every day. How are you able to manage that, you know, in comparison with what you're taking home? I don't know. Personally, I mean, I can say, I mean, personally, okay, so being a personal finance person, I've learned to understand the fundamentals of personal finance. And That has given me a clear understanding of, you know, what my needs, what my wants are. So I'm able to plan, you know, my money based on that. And I can honestly tell you that in the last 3 months, I just refused to do a budget. Because you will
budget is not budgeting.
You will literally go into a shock. And you will ask yourself, what exactly is going on? And that alone is enough to set you on a depressive, like put you in a depressive state. Because you'll be asking yourself, what is, please, I mean, you go into a store and you spend 15,000 and you come out with a black nylon and you're like, what is going on? What's going on? And the crazy thing is, it's not like anyone is trying to make some excess profit off you. They are also barely struggling to keep their shops open, to keep their businesses open. So it's just meanwhile, you have no choice but to spend. So you can't even save. How can you save? Your disposable income is gone. Probably what you used to spend on food for a month, you're spending in a week. And you keep cutting. Meanwhile, we always think that, okay, maybe if I do without this, if I do without that, if I do without this, at the end of the day, you know, I can make do. But again, we forget our health. If you're not eating right, it means that you're going to spend money at the hospital, money you don't have. Yeah, right. So these things are actually very complementary of each other. We just need to find a way. So maybe you tell me the secrets.
I wish I had the secrets. I wish I honestly had the secrets. And I was going to get to the point where I'd say that the society expects so much from a woman.
Yeah.
By woman, I mean that you're supposed to learn how to manage. You're supposed to learn how to fit into a particular situation, to find a solution to what exactly is going on. Do you think that women are really doing so much, or do you think that there's so much pressure on women at this particular point of, the economy?
Oh, absolutely. Women are the bedrock of the home. You know, a man, typical Nigerian man would say, okay, you know what? My own job is probably to go out, hustle, I give you the money, right? And he's not overly, yes, I mean, I'm not saying that a lot of them are not very invested in homemaking, but he probably doesn't want to know the nitty-gritty of how the home really runs. So, but the woman is the one who goes to the market. Now, schools have resumed.
I was going to get there.
Exactly. So a woman is thinking, it is going to be hard for a husband that is not very, very understanding. It's going to be hard to say to him that, darling, cost of living has increased. Even if he knows, he's going to pretend like he doesn't know.
He doesn't want to accept the reality.
Exactly, because that's a lot of burden on him. It's going to be like, you can't kill me. I'm just going to do the best that I can. So the woman, now, if you want peace in the home, the woman is forced to bring her own income, you know, that's if she's working. You understand? To say, okay, you know, let's find a way to put this money together and then meet our needs. But now a woman would typically be hunting for the best of bargains. Yeah. She would probably align herself with people on a good day that she probably has no business with. She's looking for how to, you know, get some savings here, how to do. Everything.
Her head is a working clock.
Exactly.
Calculating.
Exactly. Now, the problem is, this is for women that understand money. There are some women that do not understand money. And they go like, you know what, please, don't stress me. I can't kill myself. Don't stress me. If your children see food to eat today, they eat. If they don't, please don't stress me. Do you understand? So yes, I mean, the pressure is real, especially now. They're wondering, oh, how are they going to ensure that their kids take enough food to the school? How are they going to ensure that, you know, they manage this health crisis? So it's a whole lot. Women go through this every day. But the interesting thing is, somehow it's like an innate knowledge.
Find the way to, we just find the way to do it.
They wing it.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah. And one of the ways we also wing it is people are still moving.
Absolutely.
People are still relocating.
Absolutely.
People are still moving. When you go to the embassy today, you see quite a number of people. When you go to Muritala Mohammed Airport today, you're seeing quite a number of people still moving. We're saying that the pressure is real. the pressure is getting worse, but yet people are still moving. Now let's hear from Rakel to hear exactly where they are moving to. What is the situation over there?
To UK.
Let's hear from Rakel. What exactly is going on in UK? How are people? What's the situation at the moment? What's the cost of living at the moment in the UK?
Thank you, and I think Adeola has spoken a lot. And there is the increase in terms of cost of living is affecting everyone. I think the war is affecting every country. There is no country that is that easy. And that's just the truth. You know, I have ladies, I support a few ladies, especially people that have just relocated into the UK. And I do get a lot of, oh, I thought it was going to be so easy, but it isn't. It can be a little bit difficult, especially where you've left your support network back home. Before we used to buy, eggs, £1.99. Now it's about £2.60 something. It might sound that it's cheap, but just like you said, when you go shopping, you come back and your bags is like, what? I've just spent £50. I can't even see what I'm buying. And it is really hitting hard, especially when people come, they've changed the naira to pounds. And then when they first pay rent, they're like, half of my money's gone. They pay the bills. You can't tell your landlord, I'm so sorry, I don't have a job. And because there's that strain on the economy, you have less work, or it's taking longer for people to get jobs. When you don't have a job, you don't have the money. And again, just like Adeola said, women are really, really taking the brunt. But I think this is where people need to slow down, think of their mental health and ask themselves, is this a need or a want? Do I need this item or do I want it? A need, you need your food, but buying jewelry, I want it. Do I need to pay my bills? Yes, I need to pay my bills. But do I need to buy that ashwebi for this party? No, I don't need. I want, we need to prioritize. And we need to also always remember what needs to happen first. You don't need to learn to cut our material according to our size. And be honest with ourselves. Don't take too much. Communicate with your partner. Even if everything is being dumped on you as a woman, just be honest that, babe, this is getting too much. I'm a little bit stressed. Because when you're stressed, you get burnt out if you don't stop. And these can cause physical health issues such as, high blood pressure. People are getting stroke because they're taking too much. It's important to bite what you can chew. You can't just take everything. You have to remember that there's limit to what you yourself can do.
Right. So let me hear from your own personal experience. I mean, you've spoken at the wider perspective, but let me hear from your own personal experience. When you moved to the UK, what were the culture shocks you experienced? Why did you even move in the first instance? We understand that the major reason why people move is maybe for greener pastures and to get a better livelihood based off of where they're coming from, better than wherever they're coming from. But in your own experience, why did you move? What prompted the decision to move, and what were the culture shocks you experienced?
And in my own personal experience, I moved due to domestic violence. And people could say, why did you move abroad? Because every time I went back home, he would come and beg. And Africans, my parents were, oh, he's begging you now, go back. Go back is double the wahala that was before. Anyway, that's why I moved. When I came here, I lived with my brother. I moved in with my brother. I think the first month, second month, third month or so, I didn't get a job. I was happy because my brother was giving me money. I was enjoying everything. But the very month I started work, my brother sat me down and said, Rakel, this is London. I said, yes, sir. He said, you have to pay rent. I said, what? He said, pay rent. I thought it was a joke. I didn't take it serious. When went to work, when it was the end of that month, he sent me a text, don't forget your rent, and he told me how much it was. That's fine. Now my brother is no longer my brother. He's my landlord. So I stopped doing his washing. I stopped cooking his food. And we started to live like landlord and tenant. The same mother, the same father. Another culture shock to the system was I normally do like a night devotion with my kids, like 9 o'clock. Oh, you're making so much noise. I said, we're only praying. Well, I'm going to work at 4 a.m. Can you turn your voice down? Like, seriously. So you can expect, it's not the usual Yalagbaja kind of neighbor that we have in Nigeria. People, you can have a neighbor that is not so nice. Your neighbor might not be so nice. When my kids play football and he went onto my neighbor's fence, he will cut the ball. He won't give it back. I had to learn that it's a different culture. We need to respect people, and we need to just understand that if I can just say sorry or walk away from a problem, it's better than standing there and shouting with somebody. They'll call the police, wahala starts. I didn't want any of that. So I learned to walk away.
As a mother, I understand that there are also different culture shocks that come with that, and there are different ways in which you deal with children over there. What were your own experiences?
You don't want to remind me, but I'll just then the general one, as a parent, I would say, and as a mom, I even I have TikTok shows where I talk to people and give advice, because there's a lot around social services. And this is not to scare anyone. No one says you can't tell your children off. No one says you cannot, you can smack them within reason, but you cannot use an item to hit a child. For example, you're using a belt to hit your child. You're using a bastic, well, omorubu, like we call it. You can't use an item to hit your child. You have to hit your child within reason. Nobody sits down and asks your child directly that, were you hit? It will be a case of, in my case, for example, my daughter came home with a result that wasn't so great. And she was like, it's only, she wasn't remorseful about her results. So I told her of the African way. I didn't even get a phone call. When she went to school the next day, I think the teacher asked everybody, oh, so when you took your results home, what happened? How did your parents deal with it? My daughter said, what happened in our own household? I didn't buy her McDonald's. That was what happened. That was how I got a phone call, and they were investigating if I was a great mom, if I was this, if I was that. I came out of that to learn my lesson that it is about understanding that when you're in Rome, you behave like the Romans. This is not a case. In our culture, this is how we do it. They will take your child away. So I started to know what my kids like. So my children are, they would actually feel more hurt, or it will hurt them more if I say there's no TV time. If I say you're going to bed now, if I take some things away from them as punishment, rather than the African way of how we deal with our children. I won't use all my mouth to call it.
Now, in your own experience as well, having to deal with all of these things, and you've lived in the UK for 18 years, and you've seen quite a number of people also migrate and move into the UK. Do you think that people are very much prepared for this culture shock as much as, what they experience when they come in?
No. People are not. I think people have no clue. People have no idea. So somebody is telling me, oh, Ali, I moved in with my friend 3 months after. My friend is asking me for money. I said, why did you have to wait for your friend to ask you for money? The point is, when people work, they calculate that. When I go to work, I work from home, so I always use my bills. But when in the past, when I used to go physically into the office, while I'm not at home, no one is using my water, my heating is off, my light is off, so the bills are reduced. The minute you have an additional person in the house, believe it or not, and that person has 2 or 3 children, you're using more bills. While you are at work, they're putting the heating on. The heating is on, they're using more water. So this person's expenses has gone up. I wouldn't wait for somebody to ask me that give me. So I will be the one to say, if I've started work or Baba Lagbaja or Mama Lagbaja, have this £50, add it to your shopping, have £100, put it towards something. I think people should learn to do that. Also, I've had a mom call me the other day, and she was like, I've had enough. I said, what is it? She's like, oh, my husband is only giving me this. He gives me half of the money. He thinks this is Nigeria. I told her, I said, sit down, communicate with him. Let him see your expenses, and let him see that what he's giving you is not enough. He is giving the bare minimum. He's not paying towards the comfortable life here, and he's sending all his money home to be building a house that you might not move into for the next 10 years. The house, but by the time you decide it might not even be at the standard where you even want to live in it. It's so important that people should look after the place where they live, be comfortable. This is where you sleep and wake up to go to work. So it's so important, like Adeola said, eat well, have the very good basic life amenities. And finally, I think people are coming here. There are other jobs that people can do, but I think the majority of the work is care work. Care work is easy and difficult. If you're not prepared for it, it's difficult. If you're an open-minded person, it's not easy, but it is doable. Years ago, when I first came here, I think some people I lived with, they were carers. They told me what they were doing. I said, no, me, I can't do it. Later, sooner or later, now I started working in care. I'm a nurse at this. But I was then prepared for it. So some people are coming here and they're getting the shock of their life. Like, me, I can't do this job. So you need to be prepared. It is not, the jobs here, you're going to work, they're telling you can't use your mobile phone. You can't be on your phone. You can't do this. It's just so different that people are really surprised and shocked.
Right. Let's bring it home a bit. Let's come back home for a minute. Now, you've heard us share different experiences, especially our own personal culture shock that she experienced, and also trying to navigate the economic tides as well. Let's bring it home a little bit before we even go over there. I want to believe that it is not all bad. I mean, it is important that we spotlight and highlight this certain information such that people are informed and aware that you don't think that it is also rosy over there. I mean, they also go through their stuff. But for us that we are still here, how can we still keep navigating all of these things going on?
Well, at the very foundation is to understand money. What does money mean to you? That's very key. You need to understand your own the way you relate to money. And when you understand that, then now, again, myself as a single person, the way I would relate to money is different from the way a married person will relate to money. I can be at a certain age. My financial goals are different from, like if I'm in my 20s, my financial goal is different from someone in their 40s. Yeah. And it's very important that people begin to understand the milestones you need to have at those, stages of your life. Then you come to understanding what your basic needs are. You understand that's health, that's food, that's tax. Again, we have a very poor tax culture in Nigeria, and that's one of the first things that hits people when they relocate. Abroad, tax is real. It's as real as the human being standing. But in Nigeria, you can get away with it and all that. There is insurance. We don't take insurance seriously. So it's almost like penny wise, pound foolish. We lose things because we can't even take the time, to prepare for what can happen. You understand? So there is that. Now, for me, at the end of the day, what I would say is there's not two ways about it. Employers can barely afford to increase salary. Sometimes not of their own fault. It is what it is. The economy is almost at a standstill. So what I say to people is, you need to have a second, a third, a fourth job. In Nigeria, it is not a culture, but it is the reality. You must go to your day job and you must find a soft skill that can allow you earn another source of income, because that's the only way to balance out anything. And that's the only way. And the truth is, if your emotional and mental state is not balanced, you're going to fall into very bad financial habits. Yeah. Very bad. Sometimes you can't help it. You get so depressed and you go like, please, I'm going for retail therapy. And then you spend money like you're a crazy person. And then you come back. It doesn't solve the problem in the long run. Do you understand? And again, I want to say to women that it is not sexy or trendy to be a housewife anymore.
Preach.
It is not.
Preach,
as a woman, in fact, it is more dangerous for you to be without a source of income. Because you just never can tell. Life happens. Bad things find us all.
Right.
It has nothing to do with, oh, I'm a religious person. No, it's just the reality. People lose their husbands. They never thought, oh, my husband will die. People get divorced. People have health issues. Anything can happen. You can have a child with a health crisis. So what happens? You put all the burden on. Okay, so the husband wakes up and says, you know what, I'm done. I can't do this. You can't. What will you do? You will sit down. So at this point, if you need to sell pure water, sell it. If you need to learn something. I mean, personally, I have no patience for women who say, please, I'm waiting for my partner to... No, I don't have patience. I will say very bad things to you. Honestly, I will, because you see, a woman who is not in her element, a woman who is not balanced, you cannot teach anyone anything. You can't teach growth. You can't teach progress. You can't teach love. You can't teach anything. Because you yourself, you are at the mercy of someone. And everything rises and falls on the character or the behavior or the attitude of that person. There's a woman, this famous architect, Jumoke Adeola. Yeah. She said something very profound. I mean, I just stumbled on it. She said, people easily talk about submission. She said, but submission, in fact, for me, I think it's one of my favorite wise words in the world. She says, submission is, you speak to your husband and you say, sweetheart, I need to travel to France tomorrow. You have your money for your ticket. You have your money for your hotel. You have everything locked, everything. And then your husband says, or your partner, he says, wait for me. Or, I don't want you to go. And then you say, okay, that is submission. Because you have the resources to do what you want to do, but you chose to, you understand, to respect. That is submission. Obedience is, you don't have play money. You don't have money for hotel. You don't have anything. You say, my dear, I want to go to France. He says, wait. You don't have a choice. You will wait. That's obedience. Do you understand? Yeah. So a lot of women, and I think that, you see, when women have healthy habits, when they get to the point where they're able to say, you know what, I may not be a multi-millionaire, but I'm able to, at the very minimum, meet my financial needs. There is liberation that comes from that. There is a sense of calm, a sense of peace that comes with that. So, I mean, AY, honestly, people, there's so much remote work that people can do now. Yes, well, and I know Nigerians are not lazy people. Nigerians are very hardworking people. So it's just finding the opportunities. And like you rightly said, it's not all doom and gloom. Yeah. People migrate for opportunities. There are opportunities living outside the country. If you're looking for structured environments where, okay, at least your 2 + 2 can be 4. Living outside the country offers you that. There's no doubt about that. My own issue is, if you're moving outside of the country, I mean, even in Nigeria, we tell people that people must have emergency funds. It's very key. Emergency funds is like 6 months of your daily expense. Keep it, because you can lose your job. Anything can happen. That's the same mentality. That personal finance mentality is the same thing you must put in place. You don't just wake up and say, oh, me and my husband, we've planned, we're relocating. Relocating to where? Yes, you have proof of funds, but that's just in the interim. You must have at least 6 to 9 months or even 12 months, because guess what? Abroad is not like Nigeria. Nigeria, I can go to my mother's house and say, Mommy, I'm here. Help me. Help me. Help me. She will not chase me away. She will feed me morning, afternoon, night. You can't. And I think that's a cultural thing. In Nigeria, we're used to, it's an entitlement mentality. You can just go anywhere. You can't do that abroad. I mean, look at what Rakel said. That is the basis of crisis for a lot of siblings. You'll be like, my brother does not like me. But he's not being wicked. It's just the reality. So we must take on that. And people should learn to say the truth, please. If you live in diaspora, stop lying and saying that the streets are paved with gold. It's not. It's not paved with gold. People need to do real work. People need to understand. They need to know that, okay, oh, this is how I need to save like this. So I need to put money in this. People need to understand these things, because you are only as powerful as the information you have. If you don't have information, you can make informed decisions.
Very much wise words from you. Very, very much wise words from you. And I think that that's a good way to end from your end. Let's hear from Rakel. Your final words, most importantly, it feels like we've highlighted majorly the challenges, but of course, I also believe that we'll be able to speak the truth and let people understand that it is what it is. People are going through it all around the world. It's a global thing. However, if you are traveling or if you are moving out of the country, there's certain things you need to be aware of. Are there other things you would want us to note before we leave?
I think, like you said, it's so important to also highlight the goodies, abroad. If you persevere, don't expect everything to turn around within a month. I have a couple is telling me the husband's here, and they're like, they spent only 1 month. I was like, no, abroad is not abroading for them. They want to go back. I said, just wait. Patient. That's the word now. So I said, be patient, persevere. Your first 6 months of moving abroad might not be as you plan it. But again, some of the advantages, in Nigeria, most parents don't have that parent-child relationship, that rapport with their kids. Abroad will force you. If you take your child to the childminder and you're literally paying everything you've been paid to the childminder, one of you will sit down and be like, well, husband might say, I will stay at home. It is whoever earns the most. It's not a case, I've seen a lot of men on their house husbands, and they're happy because the wife is earning more. It makes couple, it draws bond couple, because you learn to work together. You will have to discuss, and do things together. But abroad is good because the security is there, like we know, bad things happen everywhere, but there's more, it's a system that works. So if you're working and you persevere, you need to be patient with yourself. Don't set yourself unrealistic goals because somebody showed on social media, 6 months in Canada and building a mansion in Nigeria, Lagos does not mean that's the case. Remember, people show you the side they want you to see. You don't know, what I'm wearing underneath this suit, but this is the picture I'm portraying. People need to always remember that abroad is sweet, is good, but persevere and communicate. There is, if you're feeling stressed, if you know that something is happening, there are different places and different things in place. There are food banks. You might not even want to visit the food bank, but sometimes you have to bring yourself down to start somewhere. And that might be the help. You might have to speak to your church leaders. This is the situation I'm finding myself in. Then they can support you with accommodation. There's always something around, but speak to people. Look for support. Don't just keep it to yourself. Remember, don't be too harsh on yourself. You've moved to a different country entirely. No one is expecting you to make it in one day. Just give yourself that patience. Be fair on yourself. Set realistic goals and you'll be fine.
Yeah, that's a good way to end it. Set realistic goals and be fine. I was going to end it by saying that understand the realities, understand the economic realities, make necessary adjustments, and definitely you will be fine. And also be responsible. Take responsibilities and you'll be fine. Thank you so much, Rakel, for joining us on this conversation. Thank you, Adeola. It was great to hear from you. And I hope to see you some other time. Thank you very much, Rakel. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much. And on that note, we end today's conversation on the Women's Series program. I hope you picked out one thing or two on the cost of living, economic crisis in the world, and as well how to navigate the tides. I hope to see you next week. If you'd like to follow us on our social media platforms, see the link on the screen below. And if you also want to learn about your personal finance, log on to www.proshare.co. And until next time, I am Ayomide Oguntoye. Thank you for watching.